I think when you look at decentralized financial products under the hood and you see how they're actually built, what you're going to see is a services-oriented architecture of a lot of separate, smaller contracts interoperating with each other. And some of those contracts will be other protocols that do calculations, provide access to certain financial markets, provide liquidity, provide features that other protocols don't have. And that's a big part of the power of DeFi, is that there's this amazing open source movement and amazing community of unbelievably smart people building these individual services that provide their own value and that can then interoperate to provide huge amounts of aggregate value, which in my opinion is already surpassing the global financial system's ability to provide value from the point of view of financial products. One category of the services, one category of the contracts that you will see on chain under the hood defining these financial products will be contracts that represent off-chain systems. So what an oracle really is, or an oracle network in a decentralized form of an oracle, is an off-chain collection of services and systems and connections that is made secure and decentralized through some method of consensus. And it's also an on-chain contract that other contracts can go to for a certain input or a certain event out in the real world, or a certain type of calculation, and often a combination of all three of those, right? And so if you look at building decentralized financial product through this lens, which is, by the way that all web infrastructure and web systems are built, the reason that people, relatively small teams of people, can build such amazing Web 2.0 systems and applications is because they have a collection of thousands, if not millions, of different services that allow them to send text messages, to get GPS data, to make payments to people, to get market data, to get weather data. And this is second nature in the Web 2.0 world. Unfortunately, at this point in the Web 3.0 world, in the blockchain world where DeFi applications are being built, you don't necessarily have that large array of services. And we are Chainlink and Chainlink Oracle networks are actually the largest provider of these various services that connect people to off-chain systems and provide all this various data, which then goes on to be used for building various smart contracts. At this point, Chainlink is in the hundreds of Oracle networks kind of size, which means there are hundreds of different services, there are hundreds of different individual pieces of data, and that's the size of the services layer of the different pieces of data, the different events that people can make happen, the different outcomes that people can generate from a smart contract. Now, what the Chainlink 2.0 white paper describes is a way to scale from hundreds of decentralized Oracle networks to thousands. And then, in addition to scaling to thousands of decentralized Oracle networks, how do we make each of those Oracle networks able to do more for the smart contracts that rely on them to make their critical computations, right? The key idea of scaling is packaged in a number of different kind of off-chain computation calculations, a number of different scalability fixes, some of which have already been deployed and implemented. The dynamic to increase the usefulness of Oracle networks really comes down to their ability to do more advanced computation. So it comes down to somebody building a hybrid smart contract in a very efficient, secure way in these two equal parts of an on-chain contract that defines the primary conditions, holds the value, provides transparency about key state changes, and then an off-chain portion that is equally easy to build and provide conditions for, right? So what this means is that the configurability of decentralized Oracle networks in Chainlink is going to massively improve to the point that you have a choice about how much computation you want to put in a decentralized Oracle network versus how much you want to put in a smart contract. And I think there will be a certain type of computation that'll go into a smart contract. That computation will be about holding value. It'll be about proving certain transparent state changes that are important for people to know about. It will be about giving people certain voting rights and control rights over value. And it'll be about distributing value from that kind of single source of truth, golden record, that's then composable with all the other DeFi contracts. But then I also think, and we know this from our experience working with a lot of the top DeFi protocols, people want to build more advanced decentralized financial products, more advanced decentralized insurance products, more advanced games. They want to build things the way that they build them in the Web 2.0 world. And in our opinion, the only thing really limiting people from doing that is either the limitations of the chain that they're on, whatever those limitations might be, and the only other thing is their ability to access the services that they're used to accessing in the Web 2.0 world, right? So they're used to just saying, hey, I want this piece of data, and they get it with no problem. Or they're used to saying, hey, I want this piece of data, but I want you to do some kind of computation on it, and then I want you to give me that result, because that's actually the result I need. And I'm going to define what that computation is for you here, in this API or in this system over here. And I think that creating that same design pattern in the blockchain space and enabling developers in Web 3.0 land to build anything they want to build, regardless of the limitations of a blockchain, because they can now define the computations they want in addition to the blockchain on a decentralized Oracle network, assuming they're comfortable with its security, assuming they've composed an Oracle network that meets their decentralization requirements, assuming they have the ability, the Oracle network has the ability to get access to the data, which it does in pretty much almost all cases. You really arrive at a place where you have thousands of Oracle networks and you have thousands of services that people can gain access to. And in gaining access to these services in an efficient, secure way, I think the same thing that happened with DeFi is likely to happen again, because it's not really a coincidence that the amount of DeFi markets, applications, and kind of financial products has grown in a very heavy correlation with the amount of data and the amount of Oracle networks and the amount of different decentralized services that we're able to put on chain. And what we actually see is that the degree to which we're able to put more data, more decentralized services, whether that's randomness, whether that's weather data, whether it's market data, we suddenly see people getting the final building block of what's needed for them to basically launch their decentralized application. And so I think the real technical advancement here is around both the scaling of the Chainlink protocol and the creation of more decentralized Oracle networks into the thousands, and also increasing the robustness and the feature richness and the ability for those decentralized Oracle networks to aid a smart contract in literally any piece of data, any computation, any kind of additional trust minimized service or computation that the smart contract needs, whether that smart contract's running on a blockchain or a layer 2 or whatever environment the core agreement's code is operating in.